complex. But before we get started with our keynote speaker, I thought I would share something with you that's part of this community's development, along with the investments that Peter and Pat have made in the buildings and the facilities here. And that is to introduce a much-needed facility that March Funeral Homes is putting on. It's going to be a bereavement center in name of Roberta March, who is Eric March's, he's sitting in the back, mom, and Annette Greer March, his mom. And they want to show you something very briefly about an important project that they're working on. So I'm going to ask Eric to please step forward and introduce the new CEO of Roberta's house. I don't know how new she is, but she's the CEO. Annette Greer March. So Eric, would you please do the honors?
Thank you, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. We appreciate this opportunity to bring to you something that's near and dear to our heart, but it's also significant to the hearts of a lot of hurt people. First of all, I just want to tell you something about this part of town, North Avenue. I happen to be the president of the East North Avenue Community Development Corporation. And it has been our mission to revitalize East North Avenue. For some of you who know and some of you who don't, I came to North Avenue at the age of 3. When my family moved to North Avenue with my sister, myself, my parents, and the dream of opening a funeral home on North Avenue. Well, that dream came true in 1957. That's been 61 years ago. And we have expanded on North Avenue to our current facility. And quite frankly, I remember when. I remember when North Avenue was a pristine boulevard that transversed Baltimore from east to west. It was a different world. My contention is that that world existed one time, it can exist again. And we have been working to make that happen. Back in 2006, we got monies to do the streetscaping along East North Avenue. Some of you have seen it. Some of you have complained about it. How disruptive to traffic it was. And for a little over 2 years, it was a project that should have been started a long time ago when we got the money, when we first got the money. Because if there's nothing true, it's the fact that the cost of doing anything only goes up over time. We waste a lot of money by wasting time. And I've learned that we have to do a better job of when monies are allocated for a project, that project is ready to go and there's no delay. That's one item. But if you look up and down North Avenue, you'll see things, new things. I want to compliment Peter and Pat and J4P for making sure that this building, which was originally the Sears and Roebuck that I remember as a kid, and what that meant to this community. If this building, his building, had not been renovated and become a useful structure on North Avenue, it would have been even more of a death knell for East North Avenue. So I want to thank Peter and his company for their investment, for their continued investment. They have, expanded their footprint here, and hopefully they'll do some more. Because right now we're tackling a monster in the form of the Gompus building across the street. and that's a $37 million project to turn that into a higher education and skill development center, which this community needs so desperately. We're hoping to partner with Baltimore City Community College and Morgan and Johns Hopkins to create spaces in that building where people can be trained in skills that can give them cost of living jobs, which is very important. You know, the working poor still struggles. We need jobs that pay the rent and the food bill and the utilities, and that's what we need here. That brings me to another project. We had to make a decision back in the 90s whether or not we were going to stay on East North Avenue because we saw the community going down and worried about how that would affect our business. But we made a commitment to this community because this community supported us. More than supported us, they embraced us. And this has been our home for all those years. And we decided we were going to make a stand and work to build this community back up. One of the projects that is currently on the drawing board that we hope to bring into reality is Roberta's house. I can't say enough about Roberta's house. Some of you know about it, some of you have never heard of it, but in Baltimore, it's one of the rarest resources for mental acceptance of some of the worst ways of losing a loved one. So I'm going to bring up my sister, Annette March Greer, who has been spearheading this program for more years than I want to think. She's not that old, but she's passionate and she's dedicated and she puts in more time than anybody I know to help these kids and families. So I want to bring up Annette. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. This has been a beautiful journey, and I'd like for you to watch this video.
I have lived here all of my life, but I believe that the violence in this city and grief are directly connected. I saw how it was impacting children, and we weren't talking about how they cope with their losses.
Chicken nuggets, french fries, tuna mustard, and a milkshake. My daddy ordered the same thing as me. My dad he got killed.
My son's father, he was murdered. Their bond, it was just a bond that a lot of kids don't have with their father. That was his best friend, his everything.
A child's grief can be very different from adults. They can easily lose their identity and their security in their grief. That shift can be very dangerous if there's no support systems there.
Dear Dad, since you have died, I've been feeling sad and lonely, frustrated, hurt. I miss you and I love you.
There you go. Write your feelings. How are you feeling today?
We provide a safe place for children to recover after the death of someone close.
Many families come here because of a homicide. They are contending with so much hurt.
Hello, how you doing? And what's your daddy's name?
Shelby.
We were talking about your emotion.
I was lonely sometimes and I was sad sometimes.
Our volunteers help the children explore their feelings.
Why did you choose red?
I was angry when my dad passed away.
And talk about healthy ways of coping.
Get that anger out!
We teach our children that it's okay to cry.
His brother died, so he's feeling really sad.
We have to help take their pain and move it towards their passion. There's a lot of richness here in Baltimore. Yes, we have a lot of ills, but Baltimore has a lot of rich history and culture in it. I feel responsible for my community. Continue to dream. If you don't have a dream right now, find one. Children like Chiron, they're able to move beyond their loss and gain a sense of hope. Grief is not made to destroy us, it's made to transform us into new beings, stronger beings. We can help our young people be the beautiful people that they have been created to be.
Thank you. And Heroes for 2014 for the remarkable work that's being done here, not just by myself. I can't take the full credit. We have over 400 volunteers who actually, who actually carry out the mission and the work of Roberta's House. This truly started back in the early 80s when I attended a conference here in Baltimore, ADEC, Association of Deaf Educators and Counselors, and recognized that there were bereavement centers in other states addressing grief and loss and providing support, and we had no knowledge of this type of a resource or had a resource here in Baltimore. And believe it or not, if you live in Baltimore City, you have a 30% higher mortality rate than living in any other place outside the city skirt, the city limits. We know, and many of us know, that attending funerals is like going to the supermarket for many of us because of so much death. And it's just, homicide is, yes, one particular type of death that is impacting Baltimore severely. But there's still a lot of young people dying at early ages because of poor health, lack of insurance, and just knowledge about health care and taking care of self, and accidents and things, and of course overdose, substance use, which is really on the rise today. And so many children, I realized too, I had no resource to provide for children. Many parents were calling saying where could they take their children, and there was no resource. So this became a mission. It became a mission for me to eventually establish a center or some place that would serve both adults and children, as well as just helping to heal this city. And through the support of Senator Mikulski and her time when she was in office, as well as our legislature, Senator McFadden and Delegate Talmadge Branch, have all been very, very supportive in helping me to build this mission and to make sure that it continues to grow to the level that we need it. So very quickly here, our mission is that we create a safe place for children and families to heal after a death of someone close. And we are a mental health preventative service. We believe that by providing grief education in the schools to our children, as well as to families and volunteers across Baltimore, that it is like helping ourselves to prevent further destruction, psychiatric need. You'd be surprised that grief can take us to places that are so dark and deep that people's lives are changed forever. And so we honor the memory, help individuals and children honor the memory of those who have gone on by empowering them to find positive goals in their life. That's how books are written, songs are written. Most things are written and created out of despair. Monuments are built, scholarships are founded, children choose their careers because of a loss of a parent. And so we help children and families find that support so that they can grow. Grief is about growth. So how we do that, we increase the awareness around the community, we create that safe place, we allow freedom of expressions through the arts. We have many interns from the various colleges and universities, social work students, art therapists coming to work with our children. So what we realize is that grief is an internal healing process and not a disease. It's not a sickness, it's not an illness, but it is a natural process that we all must grow through. and we help children and families to express those feelings in a healthy way. And we use various theories that have been created by professional social workers and research in the area of mental health in order to help children heal. And it's tasks. We equip families and the adults to understand how to communicate with children, how to recognize that pain has to be embraced, and that there's an opportunity and a choice for growth in their grief. And children also are addressed the same way by giving them the tools to grow and heal. And so we do believe that there is good grief. And Good Grief is a program that we take into the Baltimore City schools, helping children to learn ways of coping in healthy ways. Unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of grief that turns bad in our communities. We do believe that a lot of the violence, the substance use, the depression is very much related to unresolved, complicated grief. Next. Trauma is a form of grief. Grief is a form of trauma. And we have to help children and families understand that this crisis in their life, with the right support, that they can grow through it and that they can continue to help each other and help their community. Many of our volunteers come through a training of 24 hours at Roberta's House, and that goes through 3 days or 6 days, and they get a certificate. Not only do they come back to Roberta's House to volunteer, but they go back into their communities, their churches, their schools, and are able to help individuals who are going through a crisis. And so we have over 13 different programs. We have a partnership with the Police Department, Homicide Division, Be More for Healthy Babies, Baltimore City Health Department, the Family League, and we have programs for teenagers, adolescents who've not only experienced a death, but maybe even have an incarcerated parent or an absent parent that's no longer in their life. And our programs, Kaiser Permanente, is helping us to expand now into schools, creating safe spaces and comfort rooms. And we're running support groups in the schools now as well. So we also have a Camp Aaron. We're always looking for volunteers. Jamie Moyer from the Moyer Foundation started over 40 bereavement camps around the nation. This year is our 10th year, and we will be taking 100 kids away for a weekend adventure camp. All funds are paid for, expenses are paid for. It's awesome. We're anticipating about 60 volunteers as well. And so this is the new center that we are anticipating to hopefully, prayerfully break ground by the end of this year. It is a $10 to $11 million project, and the governor has added us to his capital budget. Woo! Yes, he has. And so this particular center will have a theater in it for the arts, because we believe we teach our children to move their pain towards their passion. We'll be able to have professional speakers to come in around various topics, to be able to train social workers, mental health providers, physicians in the area of grief, death, and dying. We will have art activity rooms for each appropriate age group, an expression room that's padded with a punching bag to let out anger and aggression. We're going to have therapy rooms. We do plan to become provide mental health providers to be able to give more individual care, as well as continuing to provide free peer support groups. So this is an awesome, awesome project. In fact, I don't believe that there is any other bereavement center that exists in an urban community serving an at-risk community. There is none. There are centers in other states serving more affluent individuals with medical insurance and not really touching the communities that are most at risk and need. So we hope to be a model. And this time is perfect for Baltimore. Baltimore needs to show some positivity and action, that we are really making stride to heal our communities and to resolve some of this pain and unresolved grief. Any questions? Thank you.
No question in that, but I want to thank you for the services that your organization provided to the Children's Mother's Eating Academy.
Thank you.
And I want to witness that the program that she does is very effective and very supportive of the children. So anything we can do to spread your good work. I promise you prayers. I don't got money, but I got prayers.
The prayers, that's what makes it all happen. Thank you. Yes.
I also would like to say thank you, and how could I volunteer if I wanted to?
Oh, please visit our website, robertashouse.org. The next volunteer training, I think, is coming up in May. But we have various trainings all throughout the year. So please visit our website, call Roberta's House. We have a volunteer coordinator who will schedule you, and there's an application online for you to complete as well. Yes.
For Spanish-speaking families, do you also provide that?
We have had a few Spanish-speaking families, and we are looking for some Spanish-speaking volunteers.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's why I was.
if you can help, I would greatly
Yeah,
accept your help.
of course.
Thank you. Make sure we exchange cards.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
I just want to thank you too for this, especially in this East Baltimore area. Many of the younger folks didn't know it, and I know you didn't either. We used to have something called the Blue Ribbon Tea every year, many years back. Some of the people know we used to raise monies to send children to camp during the summer. So I was glad to hear that. And they did this with the cooperation of Johns Hopkins. Every year, I think we did it for maybe about, I remember that I chaired the 48 tea. That was back when Mr. Smoke, just before he became mayor.
Yes.
So I know they had it a little time after, and many in this area of East Baltimore really appreciate Roberta's House and what March has done with that.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Is Roberta's House a 501c3?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Connected to United Way?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. And we have community tax credits, meaning that if someone makes a donation, you can get up to 50% additional tax write-off for your contribution to Roberta's House. Yes. Any others? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Handel and Mrs. Handel, for allowing me this opportunity. Thank you very much. Just keep your eye on us, and please, our big fundraiser, you have lots of information in front of you. Our annual drive is coming up this March, but of course it carries on throughout the year. iHeart radio station will have a radiothon, a phonathon, and try to get as much support as we possibly can for our operations. And soon you'll be hearing about the Capitol campaign even more as we do more marketing around that. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Annette. Thank you, Eric. And thank you, Peter, for their participation in the program. Dr. Sandelises will be here. She's scheduled to arrive any moment, at least before 1:00 p.m. And in the meantime, since she'll be moving rather quickly, I thought I would officially introduce the J4P team to get that out of the way before she comes, so she can get her information out to you. Standing in the rear is Mr. Handel himself, Peter Handel. And I saw his spouse, Pat, somewhere. Pat, where are you? Pat, please stand so people can see you. She won't do it. And in the rear, we also have here Mr. Carl Stokes. Some of you might remember him, and he was on city council for a long time. And then we have Alan Wiggins, who's our technician today, and he does a lot of different things. Alan will be retiring soon, but thank you, Alan. And then we have Ms. Shirley Traub, who's the general manager of the everything here kind of a way. But Shirley, thank you. And we have Deidre Steinem, who came in from New York. Deidre, where are you? She might be outside by the door. I'm sorry. What did I miss? Okay, so enjoy your lunch, and we will hopefully have our guest speaker here any moment. And by the way, this is the 30th year for J4P being here. They were here before I was born. But
now we're going to speak with Mr. Peter V. Handel, who is the CEO for J4P Associates. Peter Handel, it's a pleasure to have you here. Why don't you tell us what's going on with J4P Associates?
We look at the stakeholders that we have, and sure, the state is a major stakeholder for us because they rent a lot of the space here in the facility. The community around us is a major stakeholder here because they are our neighbors. They're people that we interact with on a regular basis. So what do we at J4P try to do? We try to listen to what it is that they want, and we try to provide it to them. That's what makes the American economy so vibrant and so healthy.
All right. Well, do you have any final thoughts for us as we wrap up here?
Well, this is our 7th annual Black History Month celebration, and it's something that we at J4P have been really excited about. We've honored, last year it was women in leadership. This year, as we've just been discussing, it's the entrepreneurs and people that have started their own businesses and have been very successful. We've honored Chief Judge Bell, for example, and a lot of other celebrities in the community. We had a gangster rap debate with some of the local high school kids, and it was really an absolutely fascinating thing to listen to. And it's been something that we do because we think it's fun, it's interesting, and we provide, I think, a venue for people to be honored and recognized that deserve that kind of recognition. So we're absolutely delighted to be celebrating it.
Do you have any final thoughts for us?
Well, it's been one of the highlights for me in being part of the East Baltimore community is just that, being part of the community. The people here have really welcomed me and our whole team into the community as neighbors, and that's the way we like to be treated. That's the way we feel we treat our neighbors here. It's been an absolute delight. We've been here for almost a quarter of a century now.
Well, it's been a delight talking to you, and I appreciate all the advice that you've given us, and I want to thank you for being a part of this interview, and of course I want you to keep recognizing small businesses owned by big thinkers.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Peter V. Handel.
Thank you very, very much, John.